You know that movie montage where the hero finally decides to get fit?
Oh yeah, the classic training sequence.
Right, the inspirational music swells, and you see them sweating on a treadmill for like maybe 3 seconds, doing a couple of dramatic pull-ups, and boom.
Cut to the next scene.
Exactly, cut to the next scene, and they're running a marathon and looking flawless. And, I mean, we all kind of expect our own lives to work exactly like that, right?
We really do.
January 1st rolls around. Or you decide to start a new diet on just a random Monday, and you expect that immediate, highly visible transformation.
Because it's a comforting fantasy, you know? We crave that dramatic overnight shift because it feels like a clean break from our past selves.
Yeah, totally.
But when you step out of the movie theater and into the real, messy world of human psychology, that montage just comes to a screeching halt.
A total wall.
Right. Instead of a triumphant finish line, we end up looking at a landscape littered with abandoned resolutions, unused gym memberships, and half-read books.
Which is pretty much the absolute definition of a motivation crash. And that is exactly what we are jumping into for today's deep dive.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. We are unpacking a massive stack of research today, diving really deep into the mechanics of why we so consistently fail to change our lives. And more importantly, we're going to explore how to actually rewire our behavior using some surprisingly small systemic shifts.
Because if you're listening to this right now, you have probably set some incredibly ambitious goals for yourself at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Like a grueling new workout plan, or a goal to read 50 books this year, or to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day.
Only to completely abandon those goals like 3 weeks later.
Exactly. And the most crucial thing to understand right off the bat here is that when that happens, you are not failing because you lack willpower.
Right.
You're failing because you have a flawed system.
But let's actually start right there, because I want to challenge a premise we've all basically grown up with. We are constantly taught to just go big or go home.
Oh, yeah, the hustle culture mentality.
Right. But what if trying to make massive overnight changes is the exact reason our habits fall apart?
Well, the math of self-improvement completely upends that whole go big mentality. Because human beings are notoriously bad at intuitively understanding compounding numbers.
We really are.
We expect progress to be linear. You know, if I put in 1 day of hard work, I should be able to look in the mirror and see 1 day's worth of tangible results.
Which is never how it works.
Never. The reality of behavior change is actually governed by the 1% rule.
And the math behind the 1% rule is honestly staggering when you look at it. If you run the numbers, getting just 1% better every single day for 1 year doesn't just make you a little bit better.
No, it's huge.
The compounding effect means you end up being nearly 38 times better by the time the year is over.
Right, it's 1.01 to the power of 365. It's an exponential curve. Habits are effectively the compound interest of self-improvement.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, just as your money multiplies over time through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. But there is a very dangerous flip side to this equation too.
The negative compound.
Exactly. If you get 1% worse every day for a year, that compounding effect works against you, driving your baseline almost completely down to zero.
But here's the agonizing part for anyone trying to build a new habit. In the moment, like today, a 1% change is completely invisible to the naked eye.
Oh, completely.
You choose to save $5 today instead of buying coffee, you're still not a millionaire. You force yourself to go to the gym 3 days in a row, and I hate to break it to you, but you still do not have a six-pack.
And that invisibility creates a massive psychological trap. It's known as the plateau of latent potential. Progress is almost never linear, it is heavily delayed.
Delayed progress is the worst.
It really is. When you start any new habit, you inevitably walk right into this phase called the valley of disappointment. You're putting in the reps, you're doing the work, but because you don't see tangible results immediately, your brain just assumes the process is broken.
So you just give up.
Right, you quit.
It's basically like complaining that an ice cube isn't melting when you heat it from 25 degrees to 31 degrees.
That's the perfect analogy.
You are actively putting in the heat. Right, the energy is being spent, but nothing is happening to the ice.
But that energy isn't being wasted, though. It's being stored. The environment is shifting on a microscopic level. It's only when you cross that threshold and hit 32 degrees that the ice finally begins to melt.
It hits the tipping point.
Exactly. All of the visible action happens at that specific threshold, but it was all the invisible work beforehand, those really frustrating degrees where Nothing seemed to happen that actually made the melting possible.
It reminds me of how tectonic plates work.
Oh, yeah.
They grind against each other for literally millions of years. And to anyone standing on the surface, the ground feels completely still. But underneath, there's this massive, invisible pressure building up day after day after day.
And then, boom.
Yeah, suddenly an earthquake strikes. To the outside world, it looks instantaneous. It looks like an overnight event. But it was millions of years in the making.
You see this exact same philosophy in professional sports, too. The San Antonio Spurs actually keep a quote in their locker room about a stonecutter.
Oh, I love this quote.
Right? A stonecutter will hit a rock 100 times, swinging as hard as he can, without a single microscopic crack showing on the surface. But on the 101st blow, the stone just splits cleanly in two. Wow. And the stonecutter knows perfectly well it wasn't that final blow that split the rock. It was the 100 invisible strikes that came before it.
But, okay, if the results like the melting ice or the splitting rock are entirely invisible at first, how on earth are we supposed to survive that valley of disappointment? I mean, human beings are incredibly impatient creatures.
Yeah.
If we can't see the finish line getting closer, our motivation just evaporates.
Surviving that valley requires a fundamental paradigm shift in how we view success. Since the results are delayed, relying on the end goal for your daily motivation is just a recipe for failure.
So what do we do instead?
You have to completely ditch the obsession with goals and focus entirely on systems.
Okay, hold on. Ditch goals. I mean, every motivational speaker, every self-help deep dive out there tells you that the very first thing you need to do is write down your goals. How are we supposed to know where we're going if we don't have a goal?
Well, goals are fine for setting a direction, but they are terrible at actually generating progress. Think about the difference between the two. Goals are about the specific results you want to achieve. Systems are about the daily processes that lead to those results. If you are a basketball coach, your ultimate goal is obviously to win the championship.
Right.
But your system is your daily practice routine, how you recruit players, how you review film.
There's also a massive psychological trap with goals, too, which is survivorship bias.
Oh, absolutely.
We look at the Olympics, right, and we see the athlete who wins the gold medal. We hear them talk about how their goal was to win gold, and our brains naturally just assume that the goal caused the success.
Because that's all we see.
Exactly. We completely ignore the thousands of other athletes who had the exact same goal, but didn't even make the podium. Winners and losers share the exact same goals.
Right. Therefore, the goal itself cannot be the differentiator. It is the system behind the athlete that separates the winner from the loser.
That makes so much sense.
And furthermore, being hyper-focused on goals actively restricts your daily happiness. When you set a massive goal, you are implicitly making a bargain with yourself that says, I can only be happy once I achieve this specific thing.
You're just constantly pushing your happiness off until the next milestone.
Exactly.
And it creates this terrible yo-yo effect once you actually do cross the finish line. Like, think about a runner who spends 6 months training for a marathon.
Yeah.
The day after the race, they don't go for a run. They completely stop exercising. The goal is gone, so the motivation vanishes instantly. They achieved the outcome, but they didn't change the underlying system.
Which is why the legendary Super Bowl winning coach Bill Walsh famously said, the score takes care of itself.
The score takes care of itself. I love that.
Right. If a team completely ignores the scoreboard and only focuses on executing their daily practice perfectly, the winning just happens as a natural byproduct.
So it's kind of like going on a road trip. The goal is just the address you type into your GPS, but the system is the actual engine of your car.
Perfect analogy.
You can't drive the map, right? You have to maintain the engine.
And that brings up the most critical question. If your daily systems are the engine driving you forward, what is the fuel? Building a lasting system requires a massive shift at the deepest level of how we view ourselves. It requires an identity shift.
Let's break that down, because behavior change operates on 3 distinct layers. Think of it like an onion.
Okay, an onion.
The outermost layer is outcomes, this is what you get. Losing weight, writing a book, making $1 million. The middle layer is processes, this is what you do. Going to the gym, writing 500 words a day, setting up an automatic savings account.
Right.
But the deepest layer, the actual core of the onion, is identity. This is what you believe. It's your worldview, your self-image, your biases.
And the mistake most of us make is trying to build outcome-based habits. We start from the outside of the onion and say, I want to read more, which is purely an outcome.
Just a result.
Exactly. What we actually need to do is build identity-based habits. The goal isn't to read a book. The goal is to become a reader.
Because if your daily behavior conflicts with your core identity, the behavior will never last. Like, you can set a goal to save more money, but if your internal identity is still that of a consumer rather than a producer, you will eventually sabotage yourself and spend whatever you earn.
You haven't changed the underlying belief about who you are.
Right.
There is a remarkable case study about a woman who lost over 50 kilograms. That's well over 100 pounds.
Wow.
She didn't achieve this by obsessing over a crash diet or rigid outcome. She did it by completely adopting a new identity. All day long, she would ask herself one simple filtering question. What would a healthy person do?
I found that strategy so fascinating. She would face a choice and literally ask, would a healthy person take a cab right now, or would they walk? Would a healthy person order the burrito or the salad? She simply used that assumed identity as a lens for every single micro decision.
Because she hypothesized that if she just acted like a healthy person long enough, eventually she would truly become that person. But let me just push back on that for a second, because to a lot of people listening, that probably just sounds like fake it till you make it. You know? Like you're just pretending to be someone you aren't until it magically sticks to your brain.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. It sounds like pretending on the surface, but it is actually deeply grounded in neurological feedback loops. It's a two-way street.
Okay, how so?
Well, yes, your internal identity drives your daily habits. But crucially, your daily habits actively shape your identity. You aren't born with preset, completely unchangeable beliefs about yourself. Every single time you perform a habit, you are essentially casting a vote for the type of person you want to become.
Yeah, so every trip to the gym is a vote.
Exactly. Every 5-minute workout is a vote for being an athlete. Every paragraph you write is a vote for being a writer. And just like in a real election, you don't need a unanimous, flawless victory to change your identity.
Just need a majority.
You just need a majority of votes. You build the new identity through the sheer repetition of the system. So getting the internal identity right is vital. But even if you have your identity perfectly dialed in, there's a massive external force that can completely override your willpower in an instant.
The environment.
Exactly. Your physical environment.
Back in 1936, a psychologist named Kurt Lewin formalized this into a simple equation. Behavior is a function of the person and their environment. P equals F of P and E.
Right.
We all love to think that we are in complete, conscious control of our choices, but very often, the environment is the invisible hand pulling the strings. Our brains are basically designed to offload decision-making to the environment to save energy.
Which perfectly explains impulse buying.
Yes.
Back in 1952, an economist named Hawkins Stern observed that people often buy things not because they actually want them or need them, but entirely because of how and where they are presented.
Exactly.
Well, you can walk into your kitchen perfectly full from dinner and still eat 3 cookies just because they were sitting out on the counter. Your brain saw the visual cue, just ran the automatic routine.
To prove how powerful this is, researchers once conducted a study in a hospital cafeteria. They wanted to see if they could drastically improve the eating and drinking habits of the staff and visitors without saying a single word to them.
No lectures, no posters.
None of it. They didn't put up posters about health, they didn't lecture anyone, they simply changed the physical layout of the room. They took bottled water, which was previously hidden away, and placed it prominently in refrigerators right next to all the food stations where soda used to be the only option.
And naturally, people started drinking significantly more water and less soda.
Just because it was there.
Right. The context itself was the cue.
Yeah.
We associate our habits with very specific locations and objects. When you walk into a church, you naturally whisper. When you walk down a dark alley, you naturally tense up and walk cautiously.
Right.
You don't just have a bad habit with your smartphone.
Yeah.
You have a bad habit with the specific context of that smartphone.
Yes, the context is everything.
I get the theory behind context. But let's be real about modern living for a second. What if I live in a 400 square foot studio apartment in a massive city?
A very common reality.
Right. My bed is 2 feet from my desk. I eat dinner at that desk, I work at that desk, and I watch movies on my laptop in bed. How am I supposed to separate context and build a healthy environment when my entire life happens in one single room?
That is a genuine modern struggle for sure. And the solution there is to create highly specific activity zones, even within a microscopic space.
Activity zones.
Yeah, you have to dictate distinct relationships with specific areas. You might designate one specific chair in the corner that is strictly for reading, no phones allowed in that chair. The desk is strictly for working. 1/4 of the rug is strictly for stretching. One space, one use.
Because the ultimate danger of modern technology is that a smartphone does absolutely everything. It is a TV, a mailbox, a gaming console, and a bank all at once.
It's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, but that incredible versatility makes it a confusing nightmare of psychological triggers. If you use your phone to answer stressful work emails, read the news, and scroll social media, your brain has no idea what mode it's supposed to be in when you pick it up.
Which perfectly illustrates why we need to design environments where the cues for good habits are incredibly obvious and the cues for bad ones are completely hidden. Because at our core, humans are fighting millions of years of evolutionary wiring. We are fundamentally designed to take the absolute easiest path possible.
This brings us to the law of least effort.
Yes.
Our brains consume a massive amount of energy, so they're always looking for ways to conserve it. We will always gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of friction.
It's just survival.
Right. And there was an amazing historical example of this with the global spread of agriculture. Farming moved much, much faster east to west across Europe and Asia than it did north to south in the Americas.
And the reason for that is pure efficiency. Expanding along the same latitude, east to west, meant farmers were dealing with the exact same climate, the same seasonal changes, and the same amount of sunlight.
They didn't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. It was literally the path of least resistance for the crops. Expanding north to south meant constantly adapting to new climates, which required massive effort. We are evolutionarily motivated to do what is easy.
Which requires us to completely flip how we view our habits. We tend to think we want the habit, but we don't. You don't actually want to run on a treadmill at 6 a.m. The habit itself is just an obstacle standing in the way of the ultimate result you want, which is being fit.
Exactly. Since the habit is an obstacle, your job is to make that obstacle as unbelievably easy to overcome as possible. You have to weaponize your own laziness.
Weaponize your laziness, I love that.
Right. If you want to run in the morning, you sleep in your running clothes, you put your shoes directly in front of the door so you physically trip over them, you reduce the friction of starting to absolute zero.
Because getting the habit to stick is entirely about frequency, not time. There is this concept called the habit line. The transition from a forced, conscious effort to a completely automatic behavior doesn't happen just because 21 days or 30 days have passed.
Right, time is an illusion there.
Exactly, it happens based on the sheer volume of repetitions. It's about reps.
But, inevitably the car breaks down, you get sick, or you have to work late, you are going to miss a rep. And when that happens, the golden rule of compounding is never miss twice.
Never miss twice.
Everyone has a bad day. The difference is that successful people recover immediately. The billionaire investor Charlie Munger famously said, "The first rule of compounding, never interrupt it unnecessarily."
This completely changes how I view a quote-unquote bad workout. Showing up and literally just doing 10 squats and going home feels like a failure.
Yeah.
But it's actually vital because it prevents you from accumulating a zero on your ledger. Avoiding a 33% loss is mathematically just as valuable as achieving a 50% gain.
Yeah.
You have to keep the momentum alive, even if the effort is microscopic.
But once that habit is finally established and automatic, you run into a totally new problem: boredom.
Oh, yeah.
How do you keep it alive months later? You have to use the Goldilocks rule. Humans experience peak motivation when we work on tasks that are right on the absolute edge of our current abilities. Not too hard, not too easy. The sweet spot is roughly 4% beyond your current capacity.
The comedian Steve Martin is actually a masterclass in this.
Right.
When he was coming up, he didn't write a totally new hour of comedy every single night to leave you or he'd bomb.
Right.
But he didn't just repeat the exact same jokes for 10 years either. That'd be too easy. He'd get bored. He maintained relentless motivation by adding just 1 or 2 minutes of brand new material to his proven routine at a time.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, just enough mastery to guarantee laughs, but just enough novelty to stay completely engaged.
It requires a really delicate balance. Make the habit ridiculously easy to start, but progressively inject just enough difficulty to keep your brain engaged over the long haul.
This has been such a dense, mechanics-driven journey into how we operate. Let's briefly recap what we've unpacked for you today. We started by realizing that progress is inherently delayed, much like a melting ice cube.
Right.
Because that progress is invisible at first, you have to ditch your obsession with end goals and instead build daily systems. Every time you execute that system, you are casting a vote for your new identity. But to protect those systems, you must curate an environment that makes good habits the path of least resistance, basically weaponizing your brain's natural laziness in your favor.
And if there is one core truth to pull from all of this behavioral science, it is this: you do not rise to the level of your goals. You You fall to the level of your systems.
Fall to the level of your system. That is definitely going to stick with me. To wrap up our deep dive, I want to pull on that thread about modern technology mixing all our contexts together. I want to leave you with a provocative thought to mull over as you go about your day. Take a look at the smartphone in your hand or your pocket right now. We universally view it as a tool of ultimate convenience. But if our daily behavior is unconsciously shaped by our environment, and our digital environment is this endless chaotic blender of stressful work emails, cheap social media dopamine, and intimate texts from our family, all happening on the exact same 6-inch screen, is your phone actively preventing you from forming a stable identity? Maybe the most powerful habit you can start today isn't about trying to change your internal willpower, but simply redesigning the digital rooms you spend all your time in. That movie montage where the hero finally decides to get fit.
Oh yeah, the classic training sequence.
Right, the inspirational music swells, and you see them sweating on a treadmill for like maybe 3 seconds, doing a couple of dramatic pull-ups, and boom.
Cut to the next scene.
Exactly, cut to the next scene, and they're running a marathon and looking flawless. And, I mean, we all kind of expect our own lives to work exactly like that, right?
We really do.
January 1st rolls around. Or you decide to start a new diet on just a random Monday, and you expect that immediate, highly visible transformation.
Because it's a comforting fantasy, you know? We crave that dramatic overnight shift because it feels like a clean break from our past selves.
Yeah, totally.
But when you step out of the movie theater and into the real messy world of human psychology, that montage just comes to a screeching halt.
A total wall.
Right. Instead of a triumphant finish line, we end up looking at a landscape littered with abandoned resolutions, unused gym memberships, and half-read books.
Which is pretty much the absolute definition of a motivation crash. And that is exactly what we are jumping into for today's deep dive.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. We are unpacking a massive stack of research today, diving really deep into the mechanics of why we so consistently fail to change our lives. And more importantly, we're going to explore how to actually rewire our behavior using some surprisingly small systemic shifts.
Because if you're listening to this right now, you have probably set some incredibly ambitious goals for yourself at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Like a grueling new workout plan, or a goal to read 50 books this year, or to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day.
Only to completely abandon those goals like 3 weeks later.
Exactly. And the most crucial thing to understand right off the bat here is that when that happens, you are not failing because you lack willpower.
Right.
You're failing because you have a flawed system.
But let's actually start right there, because I want to challenge a premise we've all basically grown up with. We are constantly taught to just go big or go home.
Oh, yeah, the hustle culture mentality.
Right. But what if trying to make massive overnight changes is the exact reason our habits fall apart?
Well, the math of self-improvement completely upends that whole go big mentality. Because human beings are notoriously bad at intuitively understanding compounding numbers.
We really are.
We expect progress to be linear. You know, if I put in 1 day of hard work, I should be able to look in the mirror and see 1 day's worth of tangible results.
Which is never how it works.
Never. The reality of behavior change